so long ago. It's here.
Timmy Meltrigger.
Hello!
Executive producer Christopher Lane Hensey. Lane is a family name, I guess. Went through. It's a new one. So
This panel is called Averting Disasters, Writers Room Production, and General Chaos. In this panel, I think we expect to relate stories maybe you've never heard before about the production and creation and things we do on site. So,
It's the least exciting thing that happens this weekend. It's just writers. There are 0 actors up here.
yeah, we know where the bodies are buried, though. We know how the sausages are made.
We make stuff happen.
Even on the list, nobody's listed as a moderator. We don't know who to start. So we're going to answer some questions. We're going to tell some stories about terrible mistakes we made, and we hope that you guys can learn from them as well as us. But if anybody has time, if they could run down to the ferry building and go to Parachute and pick up an almond croissant. The line's about 40 minutes.
And the croissant's $9, but other than that.
oh, also, if I may, Andy ran off stage so quick to call the intro off, I had to leave the stage just so it wasn't awkward. Listen, your Instas, on your social, if you're doing socials today, make sure you tag Journey to Events. The promotion, the people who are putting this on, Journey to Events, that's not 2, that's T0. Journey to Events on Instagram, at Journey to Events on Instagram. Tag it so you can actually share it with everybody else. Please do that.
And when you enter the ferry building, Parachute is way down at the end. You can get right on the left. It's right across the street from the row from Gott's Cookies. And it'll be great. It's an almond croissant. Right?
God's Cookies is not the one with the macaron.
No, it's not. It is not that.
It's not owned by a person named Gott. It's like, I got's cookies.
Well, so far, by the way, we've talked about croissant and macaron. I assure you all, this panel will be in English. Okay? Will be.
And by the way, this panel doesn't even start for 2 minutes. You wouldn't see any of the actors starting 2 minutes early. This is all bonus material.
What are we doing out here? What are we doing out here? I could be in the green room eating an almond croissant.
I just had an idea for next year. We do a panel called Moderators, and it's just 4 of us all answering questions about moderating.
Who's got a question about moderating?
All right. Samantha Hudson, she said, like Sean and Gus, my bestie and I have been ride or die since kindergarten. The thing that resonates most with me is the bonds of friendship, not only between Gus and Sean, but between all the characters. Not many shows capture that. And I was wondering if there were friendships in your lives that inspired the relationships, and if it was difficult to find the lines. Also, would be interested to know anything you can tell me about moderating a panel. Oh my God! Samantha, that is a prescient question, right? Prescient meaning seeing the future.
Thank you very much for clarifying.
Unless I use that word wrong, which I do all the time
I
with
said
many
this
other
panel
words.
was going to be in English, so...
That's a great question, and I'm going to start by answering, and I think I'm just going to talk the whole time.
We're used to it at this point.
I very much had, although as a person, I think as a rule follower, I identify more with Gus. I did have a Gus in my life that I've known since I was 4 years old. And I was constantly dragging him into things that he didn't want to be part of. So he's always been the inspiration for that. And is it difficult to find the lines? No, I would steal anything that happened and put it directly onto the page, because this is a machine in the writer's room, and you constantly have to be generating material. So nothing is off limits.
what was the name of your bestie? Remind us, and what are they doing now, and are you still in touch with them?
Yeah, his name is Dean. He's a financial advisor. See? It's like a real person's job. And here I am sitting on a panel and talking about almond croissants as a living...
Ladies and gentlemen, Dean!
Well, it's also like, you've known Tim forever. You guys have been close friends forever. Steve and I met in college, for those of you that don't know that history. So we've known each other now forever, as it turns out. So I think there's, different people that have been in your life for a long time that have sort of filled some of those areas of Sean and Gus isms.
And I think even just, you probably get this from watching the show and seeing us here. It's almost like a bunch of friends just hanging out anyways. And we, in terms of writing scripts, I'll write, this is an Andy Berman joke, and I'll write it in his voice, and then or he'll say the same thing to me, and it's like, but we put jokes in for each other and hope the other person identifies it, that it's their style of joke.
And the fact is also, like, with the Sean and Gus dynamic, Steve, in the 30-some years I've known him as well, loves nothing more than just an ongoing bit. So we've got text chains going back years where the bit just keeps going on. You know what I mean? We just keep going. Honestly, like the Friendly Indians, the theme song band, okay, sometimes have gone through stages where we've had families and we haven't played as much, but honestly, that band is going to go on until forever because we both refuse to quit.
Yeah.
And so, like the bit, Steve will not abandon a bit, even if it is staying in a band, that plays sometimes.
Andy, do you have...
I guess, do I have friends?
Yes.
I now have friends because I got to be part of Psych, so I have friends. It's definitely, I think that's obviously, I'm sure in your lives, like, who's the Sean, who's the Gus, that kind of thing. Sean for sure is the wish fulfillment friend that you want to be, that you wish you could be in a lot of ways. So that's the two voices talking to each other all the time. So you always try to find your Sean and try to be more like your Gus.
Exactly. Find your Sean. And did we have any guest stars that didn't work out, and what would their part in Psych have looked like?
Henzie, you a lot of times I'll just say, Henzie dealt a lot with casting and putting people together, but by the time these lists would be remarkable, right? Like we always landed on something fantastic even when we didn't think it was or whatever, but...
It's funny when you start, like, because every list started with David Bowie for some reason.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, okay, Sting. And then we'd end up with, I don't know, Rick Springfield or something.
We couldn't get Rick Springfield. He was on a lot of my lists.
He did try.
But let me tell you a story, to interrupt Chris, because I'd love to do that. When we left the Chicago Con last year, we were flying back, I look in the seat behind me, I'm like, I think that's Rick Springfield. And I'm like, nah, it can't be. Mind you, I've seen Rick Springfield in concert 5 times. He's 76 years old and looks like he's 18 right now. And I look back and I go, well, there's no way, because that looks like a 43-year-old Rick Springfield. And then he started talking and I'm like, oh my God, it's Rick Springfield. So, yes.
It was just talking in lyrics.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the best list was probably Yang.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember who was on it, but
it was ladies, it was gentlemen, it was older ladies, older gentlemen, young ladies, it was the greatest list of
do you
all
want to
time.
tell the Rutger Hauer?
Yes, that's the story to tell.
Oh, Rutger Hauer.
You know it?
Yes, I do know the Rutger Hauer story. Rutger Hauer was one of the people that we had approached for Yang, and we found out he was interested in it. But he wanted to have a conversation with somebody, with James.
Yeah.
And James and I had written the episode, so we had gone through, I think, the list. A lot of different people had lost people as we were going through.
But Rutger Hauer was always like a James dream, because he idolizes Rutger Hauer.
So we had a chance.
And just so you know, when somebody says they're interested, they want to have a conversation, you're like, okay, done, we're in. Because you get on the phone and you tell them how great it's going to be, and they get to really get a sense of your passion and all that stuff. And we're sending James in to have the conversation, so we're like, this is done, this is going to be awesome.
He was on set, and it was like we had to take a break to go and do the call. So we were both, I'm sure you guys were like patched in, or you were waiting for you knew exactly what time the call was, you knew when we were going to do it. We go to do the call. James does 99% of the talking. He takes them through the entire mythology of yin and yang and how it's going to be, this trilogy. It's like an unbelievable thing that we're going to be doing and building, and you're the greatest person for this. And he fans out on him, and Rucker Hauer says, I can't do a Rucker Hauer voice. Steve probably could.
I just do something.
And he just said, here's the thing. I think I should blow up. My head should explode. I should blow up. And there was just silence on the other end, and I didn't know what to say. But James jumped in. He said, well, the thing is, we're building a trilogy of this thing, so you have to, the only way to do this, the only way I will do this, is if my head explodes and I blow up. All right, well, give us a minute to kind of talk about it, and hung up the phone, and it was just like a terrible call that we had to make to reveal that information. But we landed in the greatest, unbelievable place.
Yeah.
It works out. It always works out.
It always works out.
Well, how about this one? Minderella says, asked the question, you've all written and produced a show that has become an obsession for many people. Are there any shows that you feel or used to feel that way about?
Andy, what's your passion show? Chris, what's your passion show?
Oh my God, I have so many, growing up in the business. From Gilligan's Island back in the day. Why didn't we do a Gilligan's Island episode?
Oh my gosh, that's true.
Still have ideas that are great. 3-hour tour? Are you kidding me?
I don't. For me, it was a lot of films. Blues Brothers. This is Spinal Tap. Just looking for funny bits, as always. Those are big ones for me. And I think Steve will certainly say, right, Moonlighting.
Yeah, that's well documented that Moonlighting was a show that I was fortunate enough. My dad was a police officer and worked security on movie sets, and as a guy who'd just gotten his driver's license, I was able to go down to the set and drive into LA and watch, which was, speaking of, right back to the theme of this show, chaos that show was run. They were writing the scripts. They would send people to locations without knowing what the scene was going to be, and they were waiting for someone to run with pages to the script to see the art department's there, and they were going to see what was going to happen in the scene. And it was when that show was on, it was the most unhinged, unbelievably exciting tightrope of danger. And I knew also that if I ever got to make a show, I would never do any of that. So we always, and this was our plan from the beginning. And mind you, I think if you were here yesterday, you know that we didn't know anything about television when they picked us up. I didn't even know what the format was for the script. So I was like, we need to operate. We have to have at least 1 or 2 scripts ahead, ready and written, because if Rutger Hauer is available next week, and the script is going to be 2 episodes away. Well, if we already have that script written, we could get Rutger Hauer. We'd have to blow up his head, but we wouldn't be, wouldn't be a problem. So it really informed of okay, there's enough disasters as it is with the machine of there. At any moment, there's 5 episodes in various stages of development. There's the idea. There's what they call a one-pager, which is just a description of the thing. There's an outline, which outlines each scene. There's a script, and then there's one that's in production. Actually 6, because then there's one being edited. 7, there's mixing stage, which, by the way, also the most exciting part of the thing.
Now that alludes to a question though that we got yesterday, which is how long does it take an episode to develop from basically pitch to final product?
Well, I love that, but wait, put a pause, because I just want to jump in for a second on the, I think the overall thing when you describe something like that, thing that I've learned since Psych is that problem solving, the one thing we didn't have the option for ever was more money.
Yes.
So money was never a solution to anything. So that once you eliminate money as an option to solve a problem, you have to solve it in the most creative ways. And I think that's was the best education in how to, we can't shoot it at night, so it has to be in the daytime. Everything shifted because when you're on a show where you can just say, well, I'll reshoot this, or we'll just put a pause on this, or we don't have this actor, so we'll shoot it next week. None of those were options because they always involved money. So it made us be so creative in so many ways, right?
Well, and because you're working with a comedy too, it's fun because you want to do an action sequence because you're doing a mystery and you want these guys to be in danger and then they run away, and so you envision this big action sequence and then you realize you can't afford a big action sequence, and so then it immediately sends you to, well, what if they're on mini bikes, you know, or or those things? What are those things called that you stand on? Segway. A Segway chase, you know, whatever.
But even if the episode revolved around a blue sport coat, and then suddenly on the day there was no blue sport coat, like you have to figure out a way. You're not going to make a blue sport coat. So it's like we're going to take this jacket, turn it inside out. This is going to become, it just was always forcing you to figure out a creative, cool solution to do it.
Yeah, in many ways, limitations are the greatest gift you can get because sometimes it forces you to be creative, and most of the time the solution is probably better than what we would have come up in the first place.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
All right, so there it is. Creativity comes from limits. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And and I'm going to give more props to Andy again because I just want to keep putting the focus on him for this one. But Andy did a little thing. It was sort of a Ferris Bueller high school reunion episode. Did anybody see that one? And in that episode, there was an amazing sequence where we had
I don't know where this is going.
No. There's a 2 steering wheel driver's ed car. And Andy also is very ambitious in his scripts. So our scripts are usually, we try to keep them below 50 pages. Andy's scripts are 93 pages with all the margins extended out.
Just change the margins, that's all you do. Change the
11-point font, not
4-point font sometimes.
spacing, margin. I learned all those.
And in the cuts, and he also had a sequence of the guy falling off a roof and a dance on a roof and all sorts of stuff. And so,
Still don't know where this is going.
No, we couldn't put that into the story, so we cut it out. It was going to be I don't know if they were just going to drive around. There's going to be a chase, but we didn't have that opportunity. But lo and behold, in the finale of the show, we still had this great idea that we hadn't done. So there was a gift waiting there for me for the last episode, which is now replace the blueberry when once we blew it up in season 8, and we have a bit that runs forever. And I think it's one of the had we just done it in that one episode, it would have been, yay, that was kind of a funny thing. But now for every movie, including Psych the movie 4. The guys will be driving a 2 steering wheel driver's ed car, and that goes all the way back to the mind of Andy Berman.
Well, but thank you. But it also goes to, it segues into Tim was going to say that question about inception to completion. Sometimes you're banking bits or banking scenes and they can resurface like 2 seasons later. Like if they're good, they'll keep rising, the cream will keep rising to the top and find a place for it somehow.
Sometimes ideas are 2 weeks from idea to a script, very rarely. Sometimes they're 6.5 years, and that goes back to Andy Berman with an episode he was titling Gentleman's Finishing School.
I had discovered a thing that was real, or it was the idea of being a gentleman, men going to school to learn etiquette or how to be a gentleman, and I saw an article about a gentleman's finishing school. It was a real thing, and I thought, that can't be, there's nothing funnier than the idea of Sean and Gus infiltrating their way into a gentleman's finishing school. I just kept saying that one thing over and over again. I'm like, can't you see every effing scene in this whole thing? I mean, this is so worth doing it. And I just remember there was some backlash to that of like, I don't care that it's a real thing, it doesn't sound like a real thing.
Some backlash.
We can't flash that for the audience, across networks to say, no, but there's an article and it's a thing. Like, it just doesn't feel real. And I just kept sticking with that. That was my pitch every beginning of every season was Gentleman's Finishing School, Gentleman's Finishing School.
And Kelly Kolchak, our other producer, she would always say, that's not a thing.
It's not, but it is. I have the article. I don't care about your article. But I kept at it, and I think there was always just like a little wink in Steve's eye that was like either, I don't know if you did it to goad at Kelly or whatever, but it's like one year you said yes.
Certainly didn't do it to go to Kelly because I thought there was something in it. We just had to crack it. We just had to find it, and we did. We had a section of our storyboard, which is just ideas that sometimes they'd be up there so long that the dry erase would actually become unerasable because they'd just been up there for that long. And Andy, the great capper to Gentlemen's Finishing School is, not too long ago, my youngest son started
graduated from a Gentleman's Finishing School?
They do these clubs, and you could just create a club, and it can be 3 people, it can be 18 people. He started an etiquette club, I think as a tribute to you.
First of all, absolutely amazing. And weren't we 10 yards ahead? I mean, we were so far ahead, right? In the zeitgeist of, we all need to learn how to be better gentlemen, right? I mean, that's like, the world has spoken.
No question about it.
I mean, leave it to Sullivan Franks.
Love that. That's really fun.
So Steve, easy one. We noticed in season 3, episode 3 and 4, there were multiple Red Robin references. Were they a sponsor, or were there any other sponsors throughout the seasons? In other words, Steve, did Red Robin line your pockets?
Here's the worst thing. I'm going to throw it to Chris in a second, but I'm going to tell you this. We are the worst business people ever because we just reference things we loved for free. And it wasn't until later that we realized, oh, they'll give us money for that? And if you're in Vancouver, upstairs, there's a Red Robin right around the corner from the Sutton Place Hotel, and it saved our lives because it was you could always get in. And, by the way, those steak fries are really good.
And he said that for free, by the way. Red Robin is not paying him right now. Go to Red Robin.
I mean, I think it became like a thing to do for the studios, which was like they were going to do these cross promotions, and they were going to go to these companies, and they were going to get little investments put them into the budget of the show, and it would, increase the bottom line on the spreadsheets and whatever. And so it became a thing where they would call us every season, starting like season 4 or something, and go, okay, what are we going to do? This company and that company. And then Steve would make these jokes and be like, I'm putting this in, and we go, oh, we can't do that because we have a deal with another company on another show and they're competitors, so you can't say living spaces, which was a thing. What was it? Like, this smells like a living space?
Yeah, I think the line was, it smells like the living spaces in here.
Which is a funny line, and they made us change it to, it smells like how could you just say like a furniture store? And you're like, that's not funny. Living spaces is funny, so it would ruin jokes all the time. But yeah, Dunkin' Donuts, we had to deal with. I think we had a car, like
we did have a car.
Ford something.
That was the
Fusion.
And it was just a pain in the ass because you'd get like $30,000 from these companies. And we knew they would say, well, it's going into the budget of the show. It never went into the budget of the show. They never said, hey, here's that extra 30 grand you can spend. They just sort of had it offset and they stuck it in their coffers, whatever. And we never really saw it, but what we had to do was like special production meetings, and we had to have somebody that was a representative from the company on set to make sure they got enough beauty shots of their product, and like...
We were shooting commercials inside of the episodes 100%. Like,
it was way better when we would just put,
No other show would agree to that. Like, we were shooting, everyone's like, it's the most subtle thing. I didn't realize that there was a Coke vending machine somewhere in the back. No, we would have Sean talk about how great Coke is. Like, but our show was built for that. I remember then from that moment on, it got exciting. Like, it would be like, oh, we're going to talk about Werther's. Can Werther's just... We would do it for anything. Will they send us Werther's butterscotch things? We'll say Werther's if we can all get candy for the writers' room. Like, that's enough. We'll even shoot a close-up of the Werther's if we can get free Werther's candy.
The other funny thing too was, remember when we did the Dunkin' Donuts? They said Dunkin' Donuts is interested. I go, perfect, donuts, great. And so we written this whole little segment. We send in the script and they're like, oh no, we need to talk about.
Almond croissants! Come up on stage here, please.
He will say, they're not from that bakery.
We gotta plug this bakery. What's your name? Dave, you're the best. It's so nice to meet you.
I will say, those aren't from the bakery. They were sold out. But 3 bakeries later, there was one that had.
Oh my God.
And there's some cookies. So,
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Gentlemen,
You are the best.
that's fantastic.
But you've missed the entire panel, so can we come to your room later and just we'll talk about this
Have a
stuff?
chair.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. We need to take a picture with you or something.
Yeah.
Come on. Also, it's very dangerous to
Smells like
appease
living
Andy Berman.
spaces.
sweat off.
Oh my God. This is. Oh my God. Dave, the best.
Does this sort of stuff happen on another show? No, it does not. Steve, I'm going to take this opportunity to ask another question. Can we do that?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Can I just finish the Dunkin' Donuts?
Certainly.
Just a very good. Okay, so we said, okay, here's the thing. They have the donuts, all that great, and they go, no. We need to talk about Dunkin' Donuts' coffee. And I'm like, Dunkin' Donuts has coffee? That we're introducing it next month. And it had nothing to do with it. And then they're like, okay, well, if we don't talk enough about the coffee, we have to put Dunkin' Donuts on the back of his jumpsuit. It was the stuntman one.
Oh, yeah.
So then we said, I don't know if this is worth it. So we gave away all our references for free. But there was one that worked, and it was Snyder's of Hanover.
Yes!
Oh my God, the best pretzels. And they used to have
pretzels.
a honey barbecue one that they have like a barbecue version, not as good. But, and so we would love to find them. And then I referenced it once, and they sent over like a giant box of Snyder's of Hanover, and that's how easily I am bought.
If we were doing this today, what would be your dream product that we would want to try to work in?
Probably the almond croissant over a parachute. Or the
Very
ones that Dave
specific,
got.
but
I'm going to go with Zapp's chips.
Oh yeah, Zap. By the way, Zap's chips. They have a. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Tell your favorite one is the
Voodoo Heat.
yes. There's Voodoo and there's Voodoo Heat. Both are good. The Voodoo Heat not that hot because Chris does not like extremely hot things.
No, Voodoo Heat is better than Voodoo.
Yes, it's true. All right.
Okay, there's a fine line, though, between Voodoo Heat and Voodoo.
Yes, I think there is a fine line. Okay, Tim. Thanks for getting us back on track.
Yeah, sure. Here's a deep cut from Taryn Curry. I really loved the character Officer. Okay, this is for fans of the pilot. I really loved the character Officer Martha Allen from the pilot episode.
Yes.
She was really spiritual and immediately believed in Sean's psychic ability when he communicated with her dead grandmother. She influenced his whole psychic life. And I wanted to know why she wasn't a regular on the series.
I'll tell you right now, while you were reading that question, Steve's brain was going like this because he was pulling up the actress's actual name, which I will not remember.
A long time ago.
But I'm guessing that you do.
It's Patricia something, right?
I don't. Right.
Yeah, but you know, here, this is what happens on our show. I was like, I love her. I want to bring her back. She was great, and she was just like one of the smaller. We would just have people come in and read, and you saw the casting session last night. Everybody, right? She just came in and killed it, and she was awesome, and I was so excited. So we shot the pilot in like October, and then we came back for production next year when the pilot got picked up, and I'm like, okay, let's bring her back. She had moved to Florida. And
she'd gotten out of the business. I think she went there to like take care of her mom.
Yeah, she went down there to take care of her mom.
She sort of segued out of acting, and we were like, no!
But didn't we bring her back one time? I think we flew her back up one time because I'm like, we gotta get her in there one more time. But yeah, she moved. It's like, what other television show can't get a really great character back because they're like, yeah, I'm done with this. It's fine.
But by the way, Sage was in the exact same category. He was a local Canadian guy, and he had this sweet face, and he was so great in the pilot, and his little dancing and stuff and whatever. And we're like, we got to bring that guy back. We got to bring her back. It's just the people that make an impression on you. You just kind of want to pepper back into the.
Here's to Officer McNabb, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen.
Yeah, in the pilot script, if you've seen it, he's listed as dancing officer. And he made such a huge impression. And the funny thing, the way we connected with him is the date. I think if this is correct, I think I'm going to be impressed. I think the date of his wedding was May 3rd, because Sean says, "What's the date of your wedding?" And then when we delivered that line, Dulay's like, "That's my birthday." And then just because that happened to be Dulay's birthday, we just started chatting, more. And it's like, oh, this is a really cool guy. He's killing it on the screen, and it's like series semi-regular.
And he was tall.
Yes, he was. But not as tall as Oliver.
I don't know if Oliver has acting ambitions. We haven't covered that yet, but
Oliver, you
Dead
and
body.
I, we'd have a terrible time getting cast because our head would be out of frame the entire time.
Sometimes
I'll also mention to you, sorry, Andy. I'll also mention to you, by the way, I've played dead bodies in episodes under a sheet. Okay, it's not a way to start an acting career. In case any of you have noticed, I'm not a household name. Okay, and it's because I started my acting career as a dead body under a sheet.
You just jogged a memory of me. You ever you're kind of dreaming and you're sort of waking up in the morning and you're like, it's a half dream and a half thought, and you forget about it. And I just had this flashback to this morning. I'm not kidding. Oliver, this is about you. and I'm asleep and I'm having some dream, and I'm dreaming about being at the con here, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it have been awesome if Oliver was a weekend plant of ours, and he was actually the killer in last night's
amazing. Amazing.
And he got up from the audience, and he was just, he was a part of it, and we were like, we planted him on Friday. And he paid off on Saturday.
We would have
A great idea,
rolled
one
that.
day late.
Yeah.
The plant.
Oliver, what are you doing this time next year?
And can you come to Tallahassee, Florida?
Because
We're not
Patricia,
gonna be
whatever
there.
her name, will be there too. Special guest.
Hey, was there ever a scene or line we really, there's a lot of L's in this, by the way, really wanted to have included in the final script, but the network and studio did not say it was okay?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. Didn't that happen a bunch of times? No?
I don't think so. I mean, it would only because of.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like the inverse of this is true. What we
So,
got away with.
When we did the was the second movie with the ventriloquism thing, right?
Yeah.
Remember, we actually wanted Dulé to say shit,
Oh yes.
and you'll have to actually replay the dialogue from that in your head, because I can't remember. But it was just funnier if Gus, who we never heard curse, and Dulé, who almost never curses, says shit in that moment, and we're like, we're on Peacock now. We're watching other shows or whatever. And they said no. They said, well, you're a family show. And we're like, yeah, but our kids have heard that word before. It's not, it just means poop, right?
I think Mater said it in Cars 2, right?
So they said no, and we thought it was funny. So I think we got away with, we had him say shit.
Yeah, and then we clipped it.
That actually segues into we rarely, again, because of money and time and everything, we rarely had an episode tossed out if we were far in the process. Once it was approved from the idea and we were breaking the story and outlines, but there was one episode that got tossed very late in the process, and it turned into a great story. But there was do you want to intro the
You can do it. Yeah.
Well, it was Todd Harthan and I were going to do an episode where Sean and Gus were working in space, but it wasn't space. It was, there was an astronaut center. There was a astronaut training, facility that they were going to infiltrate and get into. And there was only a point in the script at the end where you think they go to space because they're doing one of these simulated launches, and they make everybody believe that the rocket has taken off and that they're going to space. But then the reveal after the commercial is they didn't go to space. But maybe that was one rocket too far, but they were interested in the arena of space, but once we had turned in the outline, they decided that episode could never happen because we had jumped the shark.
It was on a Friday night call. They scheduled a call to go through, to talk about the outline. We'll send an outline and they'll give notes, and we were like, okay, this is the next one to go up, and we were all set for it. So and it's the end of the season, so because it's near the end of the seasons, we didn't have other episodes banked. We were just like, okay, we've got our entire season ready, and this one's gonna go. It's Friday night, and the call was like, they kept pushing it, so it was like at 5 o'clock, and for some reason, I was in the car with my family. We were gonna go camping somewhere, and I finally got away for a weekend, and we're listening to the call in the car as I'm driving into the campsite, and they're like, guys, we can't do this. And I think we collectively, no, seriously, no, and they're like, we can't, and all this stuff, and
it's just unbelievable, and we're like, you've seen our show, right?
So yeah, that was not a call I got, because that was a call you got, but I don't know how you delivered the information to me and Todd, but it was like, we need to put our heads together because this episode has been killed, and we need to do a 180. And to Todd's credit, for me, I cried a bit, probably, panicked, got a stomach ache. That had never happened to me before, and I was like, how do you solve this problem? And we ended up turning it into Office Space. So we just did a 180, and we're like, here's another world that...
It was because the dry erase wouldn't come off space, because we wanted to do space for so long.
Maybe.
We had to do something with space.
But if you ever get a hold of a script or whatever, that's how it is. It's lowercase office and all caps space. And so, that became a fantastic, great episode and experience. We just shifted and we just did it very, very quickly. But
it was, and not only that, it was 2 hours later, because I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I said, okay, just think of something over the weekend and we'll come back, or we're gonna fight for space, but just see if we can come up. 2 hours later, the sun is starting to come down, I'm inside the campground, and you guys go, we have something, and pitched it over the phone. I'm like, my God, that's better than than that terrible space idea you got.
I don't know, space, if we were back, we should still try to do space. But yeah, the Office Space, it was just and we did it very, very quickly. I think we all just got together, but again, it's another thing where money was not couldn't just say, let's shut it down, or stretch a week, or couldn't buy ourselves time, ever.
Yeah.
You guys should just write the space episode as a 2-hour on spec, and then we'll take it to them, and we'll
we have an outline,
we
by the way.
spec'd a new movie. Clearly you're not excited enough about Psych 4, so this is the new Psych 4. And then if they say no, we just change the names to Shaw and Goose.
Shaw and Goose,
and we take it somewhere else.
Okay, great.
That's producing.
All right then. Well, good. This is one you want to field, Chris. Actually, as creators who clearly value originality, like pineapple Easter eggs and fake psychic flair, how do you balance embracing new tech like AI, which can be both super helpful assistant and a little yin level creepy? Where do you draw the line between innovation and keeping the human heart in storytelling? Thank you, Grace Bergen. Good question. Where do you draw the line between innovation and keeping the human heart in storytelling?
What do you think?
I think I just want to say, along those lines, that honestly, the writers that I'm here with, there's just no way that AI can imitate the voice of Andy or Steve. And I'm not grandstanding, folks. I'm plain and simple. If you want to just go on your phone right now and bring it up and be like, write a Steve Franks episode of Psych, it'll never happen. It will never, never happen. And the same thing with Andy's voice, guys. You've heard him telling stories from the stage for God, it seems like forever. But nevertheless, look, Andy and Steve tell stories, and they're great at it, and these stories sound like them, and AI can't duplicate that.
There is one aspect where I don't think it helps with stories, but I mean, I guess it's like if you use it as an advanced Google, like, you know.
Like, where do you find almond croissants? Or what's a good way to take back my offer of an almond croissant to Tim?
Please write an email in my voice. Be gentle. Don't put him on the defensive. Try to.
Well, I think the big beneficiary of AI is he's sitting to my right, and it's like, check this email, make it less confrontational.
I would never do that. I would make it more confrontational. Somebody's got to have a bad cop, right? Everybody's got to have one. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really handy tool for prepping things and to get, like, if you want to get a sense of the way something could feel or look. Not a script necessarily, but like, you know, a location or, you know, different elements or whatever. You can very quickly get something visualized. But it's never going to have, and it's very well said in this question, it's never going to have heart. It's never going to have depth. It's going to pull from, you know, a dictionary or the worldwide dictionary. But it's just not going to be original, and it's not going to be specific. It's going to be a facsimile.
What's really funny too is you get a list, there's a list available of things that me and Andy and Tim have written that were utilized in the training of AI. And I'm like,
really?
Yes, so it's pretty crazy. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, this question had come up in a meet and greet, and I remember thinking the idea is, in a way, our show was perfect for AI in a lot of ways because, you know, we're parroting and doing satire and, like, you know, doing our take on Jaws, let's say, and so it would have been easy to just push that into AI and say, give us all the most iconic moments of Jaws and things that we can play with, that we can twist around. But it's really about when you guys saw Jaws as kids and how it affected you, and those are the moments that stick in your head that you want to play with. You don't need a computer to tell you, and it's got to come from your POV of being that person in the theater and how you felt about that moment. And it's the same thing if you were to say, hey, I want to do a rom-com about heartbreak or whatever, but no one knows my new heartbreak. You know, like, it's only stuff that's happened before that they're able to spit out. There's no original new heartbreak. So if AI becomes what AI is going to become, there'll be no new experiences. It'll only be ones that we're organizing and recycling. And so that's the real danger of it on the creative front, I think, and that can't be replaced.
Yeah, and still off that though, I mean, apropos of like the formula and like the nothing new, look, again, when you write a procedural mystery, you're going to basically like introduce a person, you're going to have a red herring, you're going to drop a body at the end of, Act 2 or something like that. These things aren't necessarily new, but when it really comes down to what makes a show, let's just say like, Psych. The tone, the vibe, all of it, actually, it's all about the execution, and AI simply can't execute. It just can't. It doesn't. And that's what it comes down to.
But it will next week, because that's how quickly we're moving. It will by next
we'll
week.
get a lot of stage directions where it's just like, it's not X, it's Y. Honestly. I learned this morning while I was scrolling endlessly, that there's a name for that, what AI does with the it's not X, it's Y construction. And that's called the it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno construction. I had no idea. And now I can't unthink it. Honestly, it's like when you look it up at AI, it's just like, you really nailed that, Tim. You're wonderful, because this is not X, it's Y. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. By the way, they did not pay me to say that.
What's the most expensive scene in all of Psych, and how much did it cost? Well, the most expensive scene in Psych probably cost several $100s. That's really good. I think
there are over 400 stars in the sky.
A lot of the production questions came in yesterday were about the explosion at the hotel.
Yeah.
Good. We have the director here.
That cost a lot of money. Yes. Andy, did that cost a lot of money?
I don't think so. We did it about as most practical. We had them up on the railing at a motel, and we did a stunt with, they leaned over 3/4 off, and then 4 stunt people from behind did that jump into that small pool. And then I can't say that the fire explosion was super amazing, but
It was special effects.
At
so
the time, it looked pretty-
It was probably, a $7,500 charge from the special effects company, and we went through a couple variations of it, and it was, special effects was interesting. I think the hawk in James's episode in found footage
Yes.
actually was so much better than we expected it to be. Like, we're like, this is gonna not be good. The hawk comes down, grabs the camera, and
Did a
takes off.
digital hawk come in and steal the
And
camera?
it looks amazing, but sometimes explosions look goofy or whatever. But yeah, anytime, that was a funny experience because it was like in the script, it was like, and they jump off the railing and they jump and they land in the pool or whatever, and every time like there's water involved, like James all of a sudden shows up and he's like, I'm not going in the water. And I'm not, Andy.
two things he decided at season 2, particularly me, that I was not allowed to put in scripts was water or him on wires. Him being lifted.
Now, to his credit, like I think that wasn't there an episode? It was like Seal episode, or maybe it was Jaws, where he spent a good part of a couple of days throwing up over the boat because it was just.
Bounty hunters.
Was it Bounty Hunter?
Bounty Hunters had a scene where he
That
was
was the-
hung upside down.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and
that was the episode. He was hung upside down and they jumped off a boat.
and he was a trooper, and
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually don't blame him for not.
Well, but in Jaws, we were on the water for 5 days.
So, like, it's a
also.
pool. It's not.
But also Andy's like typing, going, okay, so you're underneath a pier in the water, you're trapped over there, and it's night. Okay, we're in Vancouver. All right, so to James' credit.
Yeah, he educated me on what not to do.
So most expensive scene.
So I don't know what the most
don't know,
expensive
because-
scene was, but some of the most expensive things were locations.
Yeah.
And the football episode comes to mind because we wanted to do it in a proper stadium, and that obviously-
BC Place, yeah.
Yeah, BC Place was really expensive, and of course, we're in Canada and we're on our budget, and they came to us and they said, "This is a great script." Okay, anyway, so this stadium, that's not going to happen. So what if we get some bleachers around a high school? And we're like, no, it's supposed to be a professional organization or whatever, and we figured it out, and it was awesome. But it's expensive. So I think those are the things that I remember as most costly.
Yeah, and I think, I did a sequence in the Indiana Shawn episode with a boat chase that was going to be expensive, and then we found out, and it had an explosion at the end. They all have to do with an explosion. And then we found out we couldn't put anything in the water. We couldn't blow stuff up with air and have it go there. So it was a pure digital explosion, and let's just say that explosion technology at our budget level has not advanced to the levels that any of us would have hoped. So,
But we wouldn't be here doing this if it had anything to do with car chases, or it didn't hurt you guys, right? That we made it all work.
Right? You don't ever just sit back. You don't ever just sit back in your chair and go, "That looks fake."
How much would it cost to blow Rutger Hauer's head up? That's what I wanted to know.
we just didn't have the budget for it. Otherwise, we would have done
Would
it.
have blown it up.
I'm getting ready to take the almond croissants backstage.
I think that's it. We
Thank
gotta
you,
go.
guys.
We're out of time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. We'll see you in a little bit today.
A full day.
Visit us.
Good stuff. We're gonna go backstage and eat almond croissants.
Thank you.